"We've received an image tonight," Laura began, her hand resting on a stack of papers in front of her, her tone commanding. "An image that could forever change how we think of one of the most polarizing figures in our nation's history." This message wasn't just for casual viewers. It was calculated for maximum impact. It was the kind of opening meant to captivate both loyal supporters and staunch critics of Donald Trump alike. People paused their dinners, turned up their TVs, and sent quick texts to friends. Whatever this revelation was, it promised fireworks. The urgency in Laura's delivery carried weight, and for good reason. Back in his gilded living room, Trump sat alone, bathed in the flickering glow of the television. An almost imperceptible smirk curled his lips. He could read the rhythm of Laura's reporting like sheet music. He knew when a story smelled like trouble, or like desperation. Without moving, he returned her gaze from the screen, waiting for her to drop the carefully placed bombshell. What followed exceeded even his expectations. Laura pressed a button on her desk and the screen transitioned to display a photograph. The fuzzy, blown-up image was projected alongside her steadfast narration. The visual, unmistakably doctored to anyone with a discerning eye, suggested Trump engaged in an outlandish scenario that defied credibility. Context was missing, details were blurred, and implications filled the void left by fact. To millions watching across the nation, though, the shock was instant. Social media lit up. Hashtags began trending within seconds. For some, the image confirmed every sordid suspicion they'd held about Trump. For others, it was a badge of pride that he would once again prove his resilience by overcoming what they deemed another smear campaign. Trump set down his Diet Coke quietly, his smirk twisting into the faintest laugh. Fake. Amateur. He recognized the marks of manipulation immediately. It was too clumsy to be threatening, too absurd to stick. Yet what concerned him wasn't the image itself, but the recklessness of broadcasting it without the decency of verification. He leaned forward, lowering the volume slightly, though he didn't take his eyes off the screen. On the broadcast, Laura continued dissecting the image, pointing to fabricated evidence as though it were indisputable. "We've been given reason to believe," she said, stretching out the syllables deliberately, "that this could unravel a carefully constructed narrative. Tonight, we bring it to you, the American people, to decide." Trump muttered under his breath. Decide? They didn't want the audience to decide. They wanted to weaponize doubt, inaccuracy working in their favor as long as it assaulted perception. Truth be damned. He reached for his phone, dialing a number in his contacts without hesitation. After 3 rings, the voice on the other end trembled slightly. "Fox News headquarters," they said hastily. "How can I—" Trump cut in, his tone measured. "Donald J. Trump, get me Laura." The weight of his authority punctured their professionalism for a moment before they scrambled. "Oh, of course, sir. One moment." The hold line hummed faintly, and Laura's assistant whispered into her ear over the show's intermission. Panic flashed briefly across her composed expression. If she had calculated every possible reaction to the broadcast, this one hadn't been anticipated. When the line connected, Trump's voice came through, unmistakably calm, yet brimming with the gravity of someone utterly in control of the moment. "Laura," he began, skipping all pleasantries, "I watched your segment." She hesitated. "Mr. President, I assure you, we're treating this with the utmost—" "Stop." His interruption wasn't loud, but it might as well have been a thunderclap. "What you've aired isn't journalism. It's opportunism." For the next 5 minutes, Trump dissected the mistakes she and her team had made with surgical precision. He pointed out the inconsistencies in the image, the lack of verification, the deliberate vagueness with which they had framed speculative accusations. His tone remained steady, but his words carried weight. He wasn't defending himself. He didn't need to. The lie fell apart on its own, and he wielded it like a weapon. "I'm not calling to berate you, Laura," he finished. "I'm calling because there's a lesson here. And once you realize it, only then will you understand the damage you've caused. Not to me, but to the people who rely on you for the truth." The line went silent. Laura sat stunned, unable to muster more than a soft response before Trump ended the call. The nation, however, was in chaos. Overnight, the image became the sole focus of conversations both online and off. Experts, analysts, and everyday citizens debated its authenticity, its implications, and the judgment used in airing it. News outlets not affiliated with Fox capitalized on the blunder, and those within it scrambled to either defend or distance themselves. Trump, meanwhile, planned his next move. He didn't lash out on social media or use his pulpit for vengeance. Instead, he issued a statement announcing a press conference where he promised to address the controversy directly. The following evening, under blinding lights and in front of a crowd of reporters hungry for drama, Trump approached the podium. His entrance alone was enough to silence the murmurs. He surveyed the room before speaking, his tone deliberate. "The image, as you've all seen by now, is fake," he began, pausing to allow the room to absorb the obvious. "What concerns me isn't the laughable inaccuracy of the photo itself. It's the willingness of trusted institutions to abandon verification for the sake of sensationalism." He pivoted, addressing the reporters directly. "This isn't about me," he said. "This is about the erosion of something far more important: trust. When the media sacrifices truth for spectacle, we all lose. Transparency matters, responsibility matters, and when those things are discarded, the public becomes collateral damage." The room hung on his words, silent as Trump concluded, "Mistakes are human, but what matters is how we respond to them. I forgive Laura. Now the question is, will she and others take this moment to learn, or will they allow the pursuit of ratings to come before their duty to the American people?" The simplicity of his forgiveness stunned many, not least of whom was Laura. Watching the speech backstage, she felt a knot tighten in her chest. This wasn't the response she'd envisioned. Trump had turned her narrative into his, to teach, to set an example, and to challenge everyone watching to reflect. That night, Laura closed her show differently than she had originally planned. She apologized, not just to Trump, but to her audience, pledging a renewed commitment to accuracy and integrity in the future. The drama rippled far beyond the incident itself. For weeks, editorial boards revisited internal protocols, debates raged over the state of journalism, and the public's trust in the media was dissected like never before. But for Trump, it became a defining moment. He had proven that grace and composure could reshape even the most chaotic controversy into something profound. And long after hashtags faded and new headlines emerged, the lesson remained, etched in the memory of those who witnessed it. Forgiveness could wield power too, and in this case, it changed everything.